We're not all on the same internet, are we?
We probably are. I'm on the Shaw.
I'm on Telus.
And we're live. Probably you've heard all of us talking about our internet connection. You're welcome. And now we're gonna take a
This is the big test.
yes,
Like it's
and we're gonna take a commercial break. Don't go anywhere. And we're gonna share this to
Already.
our personal pages
Already we're monetizing.
on our first ever video. Just hang in there for a second.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Here.
up yet.
It's
No,
up.
it's
It's
up.
there. It's up. It's up.
I don't.
So if you are watching this in the past, thank you for bearing with us while we grow this page.
It's already grown very quickly. Thank
I
you.
know.
Thank you,
I'm
everyone.
gonna
for following.
refresh my page and see if it shows up for me too.
Listen, I want to just share with you that amongst us, we have some really savvy Facebook people, and then we have some people that aren't so savvy, and it's fine. You know, there's total allowance here. But you might.
Hey, it's up.
It's kind of weird seeing myself and having to share it.
I know. It's
Okay.
the whole thing's a little bizarre.
All right.
So welcome for you guys that are watching. Welcome to Reality Unchecked, episode 1, that we have gracefully named Turbulent Waters. When creating a new reality isn't as smooth as you think it should be, what choices do you have? I'm gonna just small talk while everyone else shares.
I'm ready to go.
He's
Come
down. I'm
on.
actively focused on trying to get this right.
Torsten, tell me about your mom.
Talk about making the water turbulent.
Stir it up.
Stir it up as much as you possibly can.
All right, I'm in.
Okay, good.
Okay.
We're all good here?
Well,
Share
How about like we say a quick
a little prayer.
little blurb?
Well, what little prayer? Yeah, let's bring God into this. No, really, like what is this? I mean, this is the first show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Well, so we are 4 people. You may have noticed we have bodies.
two. Oh, I can't.
No. Karlina, count the screen, the little rectangles
Little-
on the screen.
Yeah.
And then
So-
-1, that's you.
So some of us sleep together, and then some of us don't. And so John and I, the guy below me, we have
Well-
sex.
He's not below you on the thing.
I know. He's over.
He's
Yeah.
diagonal.
This
And
is like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
I met
We haven't figured out where
Torsten.
everybody is yet.
So Torsten is, I met Torsten about 2 years ago. We became roommates and sort of created roommate situations together. And then Karlina and I do the same similar sort of work. So
We met before then, but
We
we
did.
weren't roommates.
No, she was on her own. But then her life changed and
Yeah.
stuff changed. And we were
Kids
like,
went away,
it went away. And we were like, hey, do you want
and
to
then I adopted a family.
she wanted to have create a family. That sounds fun. And we're both certified. No, we're all 3 of us certified facilitators, and John is the general superstar who makes everything better. So we all use access consciousness tools, and I think actually this morning I got a massive awareness that that's actually going to be what makes this a lot easier than it would be normally.
Which is where the turbulent waters came from.
Yeah.
'Cause there has been a lot of change, like a lot for all of us.
Yeah.
Just in the last week or weekend, and we get to now, like, we're creating together as well as living together, and yeah, it's interesting challenges ahead. So
Yeah, well, so it's just to kind of, I guess, pop into that topic. You know, like this morning we were, yeah, the 3 of us had a conversation. John was traveling, and so the 3 of us had a conversation about, okay, we need to have the prenup conversation because,
While
Yes.
I'm not here.
yeah.
It was well planned.
Yeah, I get this. I get this.
Well,
Yeah,
because we were all living together, and then John got added right at the beginning, and then you started.
but it was unofficial.
It was unofficial.
So now it's becoming more official, and that's kind of where it came up yesterday, because it was like we did have a turbulent week going on, and it was like, look, like if we're doing this,
We're doing it.
We're
Whether we break
gotta all
up,
be
whether
in.
we don't want to sleep together
Yeah.
anymore, like this is
Yeah.
we're committing to this for a year.
So that's the conversation we're
Yeah,
going to
it's
have. And
It's like, how awkward can we make this if, yeah, that'd be fun.
Was it awkward?
No, I mean.
later
like,
on, like if you guys
imagine
break
how
up.
awkward
and-
and fun that would be.
Actually, it wouldn't be awkward for me, which I actually
I know.
See ya,
but-
it wouldn't be awkward for me, and I actually don't get that it would be awkward for you, which is part of what I think would make this work because we've actually been willing to create a relationship really different from the beginning, with a lot of humor and, you know, we should break up every 8 weeks and just see what that creates, sort of thing. But yeah,
And
so,
I'm quite oblivious to awkward, so that wouldn't be in my way either. So, you know, we'd be good. It would just be you.
Yeah.
and
It
Torsten
would be
gets really
super
awkward
awkward for
fast.
both.
Yeah. But we have an extra bedroom in case we need it. So that's a good thing.
We do.
I was
It's
going
very
somewhere interesting with that.
Well, how about we let everybody that's watching know like what we're up to, like what our first thing
Oh,
is.
you want to start at the beginning?
Oh.
No, like
What's the beginning?
Well, now.
it's like somebody decided like we're gonna move.
Oh yeah, we fired our landlady.
Mhm.
Somebody? I thought we decided that together.
Somebody
You did.
Who did?
Yeah.
Okay, that was mutual.
Mhm.
Okay, well, you tell, since you've got a sense of it.
Yeah. So there's this. We're at this like awesome West Vancouver British Properties place with a stunning view and lots of
pool.
space and a pool, and a lot has been put into this house and with your energies, like just
Yeah.
to take this neglected house with this landlord that doesn't really give a fuck about anything and just make this place a home.
Yeah.
And I was welcomed into it and I love being here, and it's amazing. It's amazing just how fun this place is, really. I
that's
consider
true, I
all
agree.
the roomie situations I've seen,
Yeah.
and I've had roomies before, and it doesn't take much to just start getting on each other's nerves, you know, like
What
that.
the fuck?
And so it's been really like an intriguing thing for me to just like be pulled into this space and just like riding the wave.
Cool. Yeah, well, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's actually kind of cool seeing it through your eyes, because it is. I mean, I just see it for what it is, and you know, it's in a.
Well, one of the coolest things
Yeah.
about living with you guys is that we all get to just be, like,
Yeah,
which is
there's a space.
almost hard to explain because most roommate situations are there's some sort of trauma and drama, or you really have to be super close friends. But then if you're super close friends, then there's some kind of
Then
drama.
there's
and trauma.
more trauma.
Yeah, because
Then
there's all these
awkward
expectations and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So it's been it's really easy to live with you guys. And when I first moved in with all of you guys and I got my basement room, I was really doing solo life in the house with you guys.
It was true. You were
Yeah.
living downstairs. I was living upstairs. Torsten went a little bit of everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even in my reality. Anything beyond that wasn't in my reality.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding with us living together and why I want to keep doing it is that my reality expands and our realities expand and everything gets greater
Yeah.
as we're adding all of our differences.
I know. So can I talk about
Yeah.
like, the conversation? So, my God, was that like 2
I have
weeks ago?
no
I have
idea.
no idea how long. 2 or 3 weeks ago, just before LA, Christel and I were talking, and she had just come home and had spent like 2 weeks or so with John out in South Carolina or Georgia.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you know, I don't want to.
We were
break
playing
it down,
house.
but playing house, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they were like, oh, you know, this is really cool, and they were like ready to move out and start a home together for themselves. And so she came home, and then we were Skyping about something, and then she's like, yeah, by the way, like, you know, we're really looking to move. And I was like, oh, my world was just like,
Her face.
okay.
She can't hide shit.
Wah,
First of all.
Really, I'm not so good at that.
So she tried for a second, and I'm like, I saw how that
I
landed.
let her like talk for what I think it's at least 5 minutes.
Oh, it was not 5 minutes. It was maybe 60 seconds.
Anyways, we went on to a different topic because I'm like, I don't really want to flip out on her or flip on her or even
would you
say
flip
what I
out on?
want to say. And then I was just like, okay, hang on. And I went back to the conversation and I was like, you know what? This actually really fucking sucks in my world. And it was that. It was like, because we actually contribute to each other. And it's such a contribution when, you know, like when I take the energies of you guys out of the home, then it's just me, which I can create. But then when I add Torsten and Christel back in, and we'll get to you in a minute, just because that was
Because I'm a
what
special
it was.
case.
Well, you know,
That's
this is-
true.
I think this is where it could turn into one of those awkward situations. But anyways, no, but when I looked at it, it's like, that is such a contribution, the way that we do live together and what we contribute to each other for now and the future in all aspects of our lives.
Yeah. And I've really lived my life mostly from the point of view of like, I can do without anybody.
Yeah.
And I even had a mini conversation with him this morning because the last 2 days have been really intense for me and us as a result, because when it's intense for me, he doesn't get me.
I don't know why that happens. I have no idea.
Well, usually it's my interactions with him that bring up my stuff. And because we're pretty close, like we're in close quarters all the time. So anyway, but what I was realizing this morning was like, I've literally functioned from, I can do without anybody. Like I don't need anybody.
Yeah.
Which is, if that doesn't have any charge to it, is this really cool space of not needing. But this is something different.
Mm-hmm.
This is
like, I don't need you.
I don't need you.
Yeah.
And
bit of energy to that.
yeah. Sorry what thing that is.
Slightly different.
Yeah. And so when you said that, you know, when you said, but like that actually fucking sucks, I got this big grin on my face and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm actually willing to look at creating our life different.
And
yeah, and actually talking about the difference thing, like for us, it's now normal. Like this is normal, the way we live.
Yeah.
But it's not normal.
No, it's not normal.
And it was really, really apparent when we were looking at houses.
Yeah.
And there was this one agent that we were looking at this one particular house, and he kept on asking us, so like, how do I present you guys to the client?
Yeah.
So that he's actually interested in having you as renters.
He was totally fucked.
And he had no idea. And then we gave him like some things that he could go use.
Yeah.
And he was still like,
but
so how do I,
guys?
because I normally do it this way and I sell them as a family and da-da-da. And we're like, for him, it was a big problem. And it wasn't like, it was really interesting in seeing how for other people, like, and acknowledging for us, I think, for like how different it is, and for us it's normal, and we get like what it creates in our world. And
it was also interesting to see like there was so many other real estate agents that didn't have a problem with it at all.
True. Yeah.
And we're just like, oh yeah, okay, different. All right, cool.
Yeah, because
so
that was really
easy
going.
Yeah, so there does seem to be a shift in the way the world is looking at things, and then for some people it's just a total beyond.
There's no change in their world.
There's no change.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a normal world, he and I would be going to get our own place and really enjoying that, and you guys would be doing whatever you do because we don't care anymore because we're a couple.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the interesting thing of even saying that and having the space to be able to say that, like having the space to be vulnerable like that and be able to say whatever was required, because it did create a huge change in your world and like put a huge smile on your face. And then you were like, yeah, actually, I just got home and then Torsten came around the corner and we had a conversation. And it's like, I would miss that. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of cool to be able to entertain that and indulge in it and then come and look of like, okay, I can see that. And there are these different aspects that really contribute to what we create and who we be and everything that is.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I was realizing that when you said that, I didn't actually realize that you cared either way.
Right.
I didn't realize that I had any impact on your space whatsoever. And that for me was like, I matter? I mean, it wasn't I matter from like, I'm not, I had no idea. And, you know, we had that whole conversation in the sex and relationship class about rejection. I have functioned from already being rejected my whole life.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And so I just assumed that I'm pretty irrelevant. And so, you know, but I don't feel bad about it. I just
no, I just
am. And so that for me, this is changing that in so many different ways that I really can't even articulate yet.
And I get that too. Like it is the awareness of like, oh, my choices actually affect you guys. Like what I choose actually has an impact on other people who do care and who are part of my life.
Yeah.
Like I know that's new for me too.
So as you can see, we're changing each other's whole lives. But that's that's the coolest thing about this for me is like we are changing each other's whole lives. We're changing each other's whole paradigms. And it happens in different ways and at different times. And I'm like, that is invaluable to me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks for bringing it up that
Yeah.
you guys were going to go move out, because it created something really cool. And it was also, you know, the conversation, like when we all got back home, of like, what do we want to do? Like, our lease is up in 2 months. Do we want to stay? Do we want to go? You know, I mean, like you said, John, like the house is, it is awesome, and we've created it really amazing. Like, we took care of all the details and we fixed everything, and we got it to a space that's like a livable space.
Mhm.
The pool is amazing. The backyard's amazing. The view is awesome. The location, fantastic.
And also just how we had that conversation. Like when we all four of us sat together and had dinners, like, and we talked about what we want to do. It wasn't like, hey, are we going to move out or what? It wasn't. It was like, okay, what do we want to create? And I really like how you started the conversation basically like, okay, let's not do it like, oh, what are our options? Oh, our options are A and B.
We either move out or we don't.
Yeah. And it was like, or we can have, and we had the conversation of like, what do we actually want to create?
Mhm.
And so each of us, you know, said like, hey,
Good thing you have a memory.
hey, let's
Karlina can't remember anything.
let's
I don't know.
let's have a conversation. And when we had that conversation, and when we kind of went from the place of like, yeah, if we could create anything, what would we choose? We kind of came up with the same general thing, and just from that, it wasn't even like then, oh, we're gonna move out. It was like, oh, we're gonna create this now.
Yeah. And then this didn't really fit. Something else
Yeah.
needed to come into play.
Mhm.
Yeah, it wasn't a reaction to the lease right now.
No.
It was
Yeah.
like, what do we want to create with our lives?
Yeah.
And what could that look like? And then that determined what happens to the lease.
And it
Rather
wasn't so
than the
much
other
about
way
the
around.
lease, it's the fact that the landlady didn't fit into our future creation.
Yeah, she was a
Which
change.
she's, oh my God.
And actually, I'm so grateful for that because we've spent the last 2 weeks, looking at houses, maybe just a week.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's only been a week.
2 years looking at houses.
But we've literally every day gone to see multiple places. Like it's
Yeah,
been
it's been
full
awesome.
on.
And I feel really grateful for that and for the choice to move because like we got to do that or we chose that, created that choice because we got to actually see a bunch of places and really get even more clear on what really works and what we could, well, never mind.
Not even like only what just works,
No.
but becoming aware of how each of us are
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
is it that contributes and what feeds us energetically.
Yeah. Bioenergetic feeding.
Well, so we were-
Bioenergetic
The
feeding.
bioenergetic feeding energy that we're actually looking for. And that was like, that's something that came out of this, which is so cool.
Well, because speaking of turbulent waters, we went and looked at this one house and we looked at a few anyway. But it was a
Oh,
house where Torsten
the
was
first
like,
10 grand one.
yeah, the one where Torsten was going to take the master bedroom.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah. That was
Before
so
we go
fun.
on, quickly, I don't know about you guys, and I don't know about you guys. Certainly doesn't really even register in your world. In the current reality, the places we're looking at, you'd be like thinking, this is crazy. This is insane. This is like
insane from what point of view?
from the
Expensive?
expensive, yes, and
Probably size as well.
size and wear and everything that comes along with the expectation of what a place like this must be and what it must require for a person to move into a place like this.
Right.
And
Because it really is a mansion.
Yeah, we're looking
Yeah.
at 6-bedroom places with pools and
Like over 6,000 square
over
feet.
6,000 square
I mean,
feet.
currently we live in what,
Which is
4,200 square feet?
I mean, actually, we could
600
probably get
square
away with
meters.
living in a small
Yeah.
townhome with 4 bedrooms, but that would never work. We would die.
Good.
We would kill each other.
I can't wait to show you
That
what
would
we
be a
create
whole
that
other
shows up.
reality Unchecked show.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do a whole show on that. But so we went and thank you for that. And we went and looked at one of the houses and
It was actually the first bigger house we looked at.
okay. And I had it in my mind that of course we're a couple, we're gonna have the master bedroom. Hello, that's not negotiable. And so we walk into this house and we're touring it and Torsten was like, I found my room and I look and I'm like, it's the fucking master. Like, fuck you, you found your room. I didn't say that out loud, but that was the energy.
She still said it.
It
I
was
still
loud.
very
said it really
loud.
loud.
Yeah.
He's very telepathic. And but then I tried to squash it, which is always worse because then it gets louder.
It gets bigger and louder.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, so we got back in the car and I was still like, fucking Torsten, what the fuck does he think he is taking? Anyway,
But
but
meanwhile,
here's
in the house, you did actually look at the
Yeah.
other room, which was close to but not quite a master, and you're like, yeah,
I could
okay,
do
try
this.
to
I
make
don't
this
love
work.
it. I could kind of make it work. But what came out of that was that Torsten is demanding in his role now that he have a view,
Which was so cool.
which was so cool because he's in the last, well, in this place that we've lived in, he doesn't have a view. He's the one person that doesn't have a view. And I'm really happy with my garden view, and Karlina's happy with her water view, and Torsten's got the driveway. And he really loves the view. So after I got
not the driveway view, but the view.
the view,
view.
yeah, it's beautiful.
So he does have an office, which
Yeah.
he does work in every day, and
But so he was demanding something else. And that's and what's cool about the first thing I want to say about that is like we are all changing and growing and being more of ourselves all the time with these tools and the classes that we take. So this is an ongoing creation of a conversation with us individually and as a group. So that was new. I was like, the fuck is this guy? Like Torsten's fine with anything. But anyway, he changed.
not
Welcome
just
to
fine
our
with
reality,
anything.
right? So I got to look at piss off wasn't going to create it. So it was, I got to lower my bears and just go, what's actually going on here? And it's that Torsten really is changing and he wants something here. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to like not.
Uh-huh.
Of course,
Yeah.
Torsten wants a view. So what that did is it added to what we were looking at instead of taking away from it or creating a separation between us, which I totally could have chosen to do that.
Yeah.
Instead, there was another choice available of like, okay, so if I wasn't choosing to create separation and going, well, fuck you, I'm gonna go fucking find my own fucking place,
Yeah,
fuckers.
we're now moving into
We're
our
now
own
moving.
house,
Yeah, using that as a reason and justification to choose
Right.
this,
which could have easily
been a choice.
Yeah.
And actually, to just comment on that, that probably would have been a choice like 6 months ago.
Absolutely
or
would have been a choice.
Yeah.
It
100%.
probably would have actually been what you would have chosen.
Well, I was looking for
Right.
reasons to choose that
Yeah.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even fully acknowledge that then.
Because even in Malaysia, we had a conversation, and up came like this thing of where she would just move out, and I'm like, what the fuck?
And that
Like,
was so
why are
weird to you.
not in?
It was weird to me that was weird to you.
Yeah, yeah,
But this is how ingrained that this way of being in my world has been for
right.
my entire life.
See,
And
and the funny thing is like you had asked me for several months, like just kept kind of throwing it out there, these breadcrumbs of like, why don't we all move in together? And I was kind of like, yeah, that's never gonna work. Like, it just was not gonna work in my world. And then when everything changed and Ben was moving out, or he'd moved out, then it was like, oh, and it's like, oh, now it's actually light. And I was still like, I don't do very well with roommates. But when I talked to you and you guys were like, yeah, then it was like, okay, we're in. And for me, a choice, that's also a commitment to that. So there was a commitment to the choice that we made together.
right.
So that's why in Malaysia, it was like,
Why? I'm
what
good
the
at
fuck? I don't understand. Like,
Well,
you're in.
yeah.
You chose.
and for me, like choices had never worked that way.
Yeah.
It's like I would choose and then change and then choose and then change. But what was happening was I was destroying my future with that too, in my business, in my
Right.
relationships.
Right.
So
I can see that.
I don't know. That's probably a whole nother show of like choosing in every 10 seconds versus like choosing and really fully committing to that choice and still having choice in every 10 seconds.
Yes.
Yes.
But actually talking about that, this is a great example of that, of like, so I'm committed to this choice. Now, what other choices do I have here? Like with this piss
Yes.
off about the master bedroom.
Yeah.
And so I just kept looking for the choice that would create the space because I didn't have space. I had like,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, so what creates the space? All right, well, Torsten can have a view. So that means this house is a deal breaker for me,
Yeah.
which is okay because
Not-
there's more
not
houses.
Torsten.
Yeah.
The house, not Torsten.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
the commitment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the commitment to what
To-
we're
to
creating
what we're
together.
creating. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where
That's a
just
That's
really
a really
good point.
good
Just in
point.
case you missed that.
Yeah.
That was a key point.
this is where I sort of have an embarrassment of riches, which is I'm surrounded by 3 facilitators, and just
Embarrassment of
watching, just
riches, I like
witnessing
that.
and being part of this is that there are places where I just know that that's like, in sort of like what I've been taught and what we've been enculturated with is that, oh, well, that's a place for compromise. You got to get
Yeah.
together and meet
Yes.
halfway. So
Totally.
you got to water both of your desires down
Yeah.
so that we can like have this like communist
Yeah.
So we can have a watered down life that's not a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
But
That
cold,
is true.
cold borscht for you.
Yes.
John is the cook in the family. But that's a really great point, because it is this thing of we were actually not willing to compromise, and not the not willingness for us, again, that commitment to us and what we're creating, but it's actually the non-compromising on what we're asking for. So it's the ask that we weren't willing to compromise. So every single time, like then when Torsten stepped up, I mean, in my world, it was too like, well, fuck, how come you get the master like that, you know?
Yeah.
But at this very exact same time, it was like, that's fucking awesome that you're willing to step up, because he didn't do that the last time, and he hasn't done that. Well, more and more, like he's actually telling me what to do nowadays. So
He's getting bossy. This guy.
He's getting bossy. I mean, he's
But he
bossy
does live with two bulldozers.
but it is that thing of like we were not willing to compromise on our ask. So every single time we looked at a house, we get more awareness on what is it about this that works, what is it about that doesn't, and then the ask would change, and then a different kind of house would show up later that day or the next day. That was the real cool part of this exercise.
Like literally when we got, did you? Sorry.
Oh,
I'll talk over you. I know myself.
The bulldozer. What's really cool is that when I looked at what your desire is and what your desire is, I mean, we're all sort of going the same direction, and we all have our own characteristics and preferences, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, I reached a point, like, saw it as like, oh, wow, we're so divergent and so different in our asks that, like, is there a place I can actually fulfill all this?
Right.
I went to that place. And what's really cool is, like, this morning I saw this really apt quote. And, you know, it's one of these things, I don't know if it's actually attributable to Steve Jobs. And I saw this quote that says, if you don't find what you're looking for, keep looking. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And that's what's been happening, is that the more we look and go, like, here are all the things that really we require to have, like, create the thing that we want to create. And it just keeps getting closer and closer. And believe me, these houses are just mind-blowing, just mind-blowing. And I can't believe, like, it's that houses can get created like that.
Yeah.
Right?
It's amazing what we've seen and the creativity with, like, how they build it and what they put in it. And every single one is like, that's a cool feature. And it's like, oh, we got to remember that for, you know, when we want to build a house. And there are so many cool things about the different houses that we've seen.
And what I've been really aware of as we move forward with this, is for me personally, is like, I am going to require you guys and the tools to keep moving forward in this in a way that doesn't quit on me, because I'm so accustomed to quitting on me, and, you know, and quitting relationships too. Like, you know, for him and I in the last couple of days, it's been really intense, but it's been really intense because I've been getting pissed off. It was that same piss off.
Right. And that's how the prenup conversation came up, because it was like, hey, we actually really do need to know that if things go to shit, you're in. Like, not only you, but
me.
Yeah.
Like,
somebody like, take your shit, get out.
We know, Christel.
You don't just get to walk away.
Exactly. So it was like, okay, so what happens, like, when this happens? Like, we're making a choice, and it's like, you know, what goes on here? And then it was like, okay, yeah, we do actually have to have this conversation. So that is, it happened to be when you were not there, but that it really was about her to begin with, just so that you know.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, and so, like, my awareness is like, you know, I have to be willing to make different choices for this to create. Yeah. And what I love about that is all of us.
And I was just gonna say, all of us. Like, it's so interesting when you have 4 different people. Again, like John said, like, he was looking at one point, he's like, wow, these are 4 very different, like, things, requirements in a lot of ways. Like, how are we gonna find a place? And it's like, and also to look what the whole creates, and each individual, like, it is a different ask for each one of us in a different way.
Yeah.
And it's acknowledging that, right? It's acknowledging that different ask that we each have, and you know, what we are, the willingness of what we're willing to choose that is beyond for us in some sort of way, and yet in another way makes the whole thing way more amazing that we are choosing this together. Like that just creates such a different energy that I've never experienced before because I've never chosen this before.
Yeah. I don't think any of us
Yeah, and this is, in fact, the creation of the house. It's not that it's irrelevant. It's almost like that's not the
It's
thing.
the tool.
It's
Yeah.
it's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's what I'm creating in myself right now, which is there's so many things about this, us getting together and choosing this.
Yeah.
Is that it's requiring me to show up, like keep showing up
Yeah.
bigger and
Mhm.
bigger and bigger, and stretching me to what I thought was like the breaking point of things.
Yeah.
And going beyond,
Yeah.
and then going beyond and realize I'm beyond that, and then like having to go beyond that.
Oh shit, I gotta keep going.
Shit, I
Yeah,
just
my
got
God.
beyond. Like, seriously.
Wait, there's more beyond. Again, but that is our journey.
I
Like,
know.
You look at the tool, like
Yeah.
access consciousness is that journey.
Yeah.
Of it. It's like you're
Yeah.
constantly going beyond, and now what's beyond that, and what's beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is like, I mean, very often you can kind of take a break or slow down or be like, okay, like,
Give
let
me a
just-
second. Give me.
Yeah, let me
Mhm.
just be for a moment and
Mhm.
figure out who and where and what I am. And it's like in this last week with like seeing all these houses back to back to back, we haven't had that. You've literally had to like, okay,
Keep
cool, that
choosing.
changed, and you
Mhm.
be it and you become it, and you go to the next one, and it's like, shit, it's changing again. And it's like, okay, and you be it and you become it, and then your ass changed. Like you said too, the night before last, but yesterday we found 2 houses that actually
Yeah.
worked, which was really amazing. And you're like, I really asked.
I
And-
really asked because we had this. You guys had this really cool epiphany. So we were looking at houses
Yeah,
and
this was awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the view is has been really important.
We saw this amazing house that had like a gorgeous view. Like it's a little bit higher than we are now, so there's actually no trees in the way, and it's all ocean.
Amazing.
You get the city over there, but
Amazing
it's all water, and it's just space.
But
Like
the house itself,
every floor, 3
Yeah.
floors.
the house itself was older, so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
had mismatched carpet that said some things that were updated and the other things that weren't, and sort of mismatched.
And see, this is one of those things that you were talking about where there's 4 people's asks are coming together, because Christel's like, I like new houses and I like
Mhm.
that opulence and the elegance and I mean,
And I'm really bored with living in houses that don't have that. And we travel
Right.
around to these beautiful hotels, and we've got all these. I have a lot of that in my life, but in where I live, we've had some. And I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
want that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I want something else. But you're like, view.
Yeah.
Every
Okay, that's
garage,
good.
she's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, we're in.
I know.
And I'm like, but house? Like,
I know. She's like, but what about this part of the house? I'm like, I don't remember that.
I don't
All I
even
remember
care.
is the
Maybe we
view.
can sort it out. We can whatever it is. We can make it work. Like
so what was cool about that was, I mean, we got even more clear, like what is really, we got even more clear, I guess, on what's really important. But then you guys had a really cool conversation.
Yeah, because we went to go see this other house after that one, which actually had no view. So it was in a little bit of a dip.
And I'm like,
Up on the backside. Yeah, you really were. Like up on the backside, it had all these plants that went up to a tennis court, which was actually higher than the house. So
and the
that
house
had
was
a bit more of a
gorgeous.
view.
It was like stunning inside. It was elegant. It had
Yeah.
beautiful plush carpet. Like you felt at ease inside. It had a
It's,
piano.
it's true, and it was all marble, and it was all like beautiful trim and really rich
It's like a French palace.
resources. Yeah,
For a price we could
With the-
afford.
with a strange layout.
We could
I
actually
gotta
choose
say
it.
it was a weird layout on the
weird.
main floor.
Yeah.
But you know, but I mean, the bedrooms upstairs, they actually worked. Like there was a lot of elements that it did have. But then on the other side, which would have been the view side, there was a huge golf course actually in front of it and in North Vancouver, you have trees on the outside of the golf course, so you have privacy. So there was like nothing but a wall of trees.
It was a creek.
It's a creek,
Isn't it?
not a golf course.
But they're similar.
There's a golf course right
other side. Anyways.
there. Anyways.
See 4 different realities.
But yeah, so it had trees everywhere. And then when we came home, Christel was actually late on that one, so we had 2 cars on that one. So we didn't chat on the way home, except Torsten and I were in one car, so we were chatting. And it was like, like I said, I'm like, I actually really require the water view. And so we got to, like, we were chatting, and I was like, oh my God, that's the bioenergetic feeding that Gary and Dane were talking about. that's what actually feeds and nurtures me, is that water. And it can come
And
in
same with
different
Torsten.
elements.
And it's
yeah,
similar
same with
for me,
Torsten.
yeah, for sure.
Like it's, you know, having the view of the ocean, having a pool, like, you know, I was saying the other day, like last night I realized it's like, oh yeah, when I didn't have that, I would take like long showers, like a good half an hour to an hour just to be in water. So
Whereas I moved out to Vancouver specifically to be near the mountains. And
right.
I grew up in the mountains, so one of my favorite things was like driving up into the mountains so I could be in and amongst the trees, like sitting on rocks and climbing on rocks. And it literally, sometimes my body needs to go sit on a rock. I literally go find a rock. And one of the coolest things about this side of, well, probably Vancouver, but this side of the mountain in Vancouver is like it's all on bedrock. So there's lots of rock. And so my bedroom's downstairs and I'm actually surrounded by trees. And my favorite houses are the ones that have skylights that are in the forest. So you have all the trees above you. So there's this very different bioenergetic nurturing that I receive. But I didn't have that information until they came back and were like, oh my God, we had this conversation. And this is what, and I was like, I was grinning and crying. So
but it was so cool because even to see this house that we're in, like this house showed up with energy and we couldn't see it, but we already knew we wanted it. And that was just based on the energy. And now, even now looking at it, it's like, you know, Torsten and I live upstairs where there's a view.
And I'm downstairs near the trees. And I'm really happy down there.
Yeah.
And I see the view when I come up and I'm like, yeah, view.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It is. And I mean, and you've sat up here and enjoyed the view. But no matter what, there's still all these trees that are right there. So it's that bioenergetic feeding.
So after we saw that, the house, I came home and I was like, gosh, what would it? Because having that new information was like, what would it take to have both?
Yeah.
And literally the next day, two houses showed up.
Yeah.
And what's funny, because that night I was like, I mean, every time I was updating my ask, and that night too, I was like, okay, and because we were looking at, you know, 10,000, 15,000, we were going to go see a place.
$20,000 a month.
A month.
Not a year, a month.
And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. We can create that. And I was like, and I've got quite a few other expenses going on and investments and this and that. And I like to have play money. So it's like, yes, I'm going to up my ask. And yes, I'm going to create more. And what would it take to have it for like a rent that's actually, you know,
funner.
10,000, yeah, more fun. Like, you know, not 20. Like that's a lot of money going into
at this moment in time. That's a big stretch. Like we could do it, but we would be really creating for that.
Yeah.
And it just creates a little more ease to have to be able to grow into.
Somewhere around 10 grand. So that was also something I was asking for. It's like, what would it take to have everything that we're asking for and that we're now asking for after all of those houses? And have a rent that's actually something that's fun.
Yeah, and we found it yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, what's really cool actually is we found two.
We found two back to back.
We found two, and so the first one that we saw, we're like, wow, this is awesome. It's amazing. It has this amazing view, and it has that energy of like trees around and so on, and so like, and the space was good. And anyways, there were so many things about it that were.
Really worked. It had two masters actually, which also worked for like what, you know, both Karlina and I
has to have one, and
I mean, in terms of closet space. Anyway, it had lots of stuff.
Like there's so many things. It had a pool and all that kind of stuff.
But it was $12,000 a month, and
and we were talking about bring them down a little bit. On that.
And it was like it still was sort of within the range to some degree, and then. There was this other house that we've been trying to see since we started looking, I think, actually.
Yeah, and he didn't want to show it to us the first time. And then he kind of bailed on us. And
we went and saw the second place, and we were just like, wow, like I didn't think we could find anything that was better than the first place that we saw that day.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this actually works better. Like, what the hell? Like, that's amazing. And so it's so interesting in that sense too. Like, when you keep on asking, you keep on looking, you know, what else is possible, and to have two places in one day. And we really had to look at the energy of which one would create more for our future.
Yeah, and unfortunately, John wasn't here yesterday afternoon.
Or fortunately.
He said he's going to take off whenever we have a big choice. So take off randomly.
You guys got this.
But, you know, we did come home, and it's like, okay, and we sat down and we looked at, like, what do we want to create? Like, what will this create? What would this add to our future?
Well, can you actually talk about that? Because we did sit down and really ask question. Like, but what can you talk about the questions that we asked? Because I think a lot of people struggle with. Like,
remember what the questions? Yeah.
It was like, if we like
if we
this
choose
each house.
Yeah, we bet.
Like, what future does this create the future we desire?
Does this create the future we desire? Yes or no?
That was the main question.
And does this create the future we desire? Yes or no? We kept getting.
And we also asked, like, my first question was like, which one creates a greater possibilities for the future? And that was a different response. But then it was really like, which one actually
creates the future we desire?
Yeah.
And that was without the conclusion of like $12,000 is too much to pay, because I was willing to create for that.
Yeah.
We were all pretty willing to create for that and see what we could do getting it lower.
Yeah.
But I love creating our lives like that.
Yeah, and what was interesting is like the house that we're now asking to rent, it doesn't have the swimming pool, which I will miss.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a sauna, which was
all the houses we were looking at had saunas.
I know.
And some of them had steam showers.
Yeah.
Like we were getting spoiled. We're like, well, this house doesn't have a sauna. That's shit.
And the other house, like the first one we saw yesterday, that one had like these cool showers with like jets coming from the side. So I'm just like, oh, they really do have nice shower. I mean, I'm a shower girl, right? So anything water.
You can come use my shower.
And also about the pool, like there's a pool next door, so
Torsten said I had to make.
But we had to look at what was deal breakers for us, and what would be what we were really okay with, like
deal breakers, and also the energy.
The energy of it, yeah,
even
really.
when I'm like, like a pool is such a contribution in my world. Like to jump in, for 15 minutes in between working, especially when I'm a workaholic and I work all day. Like to jump in a pool and go for a swim is huge. And in Vancouver, if it's an outside pool, you can only do that for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. True.
Unless you're
even
crazy.
If you keep it heated, because keeping it heated, it like evaporates and like so it doesn't really work.
No, it's a bit of a challenge. So but that was still it's still a big thing in my world. So it was, but the energy was on that house that actually didn't have the pool and that didn't have the sauna or anything like that. Like it was missing.
And yet
some
it's
of the
still
elements. It created
in other way contributed to the
Yeah.
energy of it, and like just the sense that you got when you walked around the place.
Yeah.
There was this energy about it. It was like such a contribution of just the materials and how it was put together and all that kind of stuff. That's
And
really what it ends up being.
Yeah. And it is newer. It's only like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
It has amazing finishes.
Mm-hmm.
And like the floor throughout all 3 floors is like this deep, rich, dark, or
real
like,
wood.
Mhm.
yeah, real hardwood floors. And that added so much to the place. But it's
But I talk a lot, about getting clear on what it is you want to ask for. And what I become aware of more and more, especially as we all create together, is that I only get more clear on what I want to ask for as I choose things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as I start moving in a direction, a general direction,
that
that
whole choice creates thing.
choice creates. Yeah. But it's funny how many times we think that, if we just sit around and sort of get the energy of it, it will show up. But you actually I have had to start choosing and like getting more information and then.
Well,
And that was the beautiful thing about this, seeing all these houses, is that every single one was a choice, and then getting the awareness, and then asking for something different.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's also like you can just sit there and get the energy of something, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not that you can't do that, and going around and going to different places gives you that
So much more information.
more clarity
Yeah.
on that, right?
Yeah, and that's I
Because
think
when I got really clear, I was like, that need. So we talk about need and tug, where the desire for something actually tugs it into your world.
Yeah.
And as soon as we got that clear, I was like, tug, baby, like.
Well, and at some point you referred to this as shopping for a new reality, which is kind of what we were doing, because we were getting more clear on what our asks were.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't so much about the houses and the spaces, and yes, we had to look at all that.
Mm-hmm.
But what it really created, like this whole, I want to call it an exercise because that's kind of what it feels like this whole event or adventure, is it created so much awareness of each of us and us together as one group.
Mm-hmm.
And then the asks, like the 4 individual asks, and then the bigger ask.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it created so much awareness with the constant choosing and the constant, like choosing to be that and choosing, okay, cool. acknowledging, yes, that's what we're asking for. Yes, that's what I require. And and then finding this house, which doesn't actually meet all of the requirements, yet at the same time, it meets so much more energetically.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And that's where I'm so grateful for awareness. I'm so grateful for the willingness to be aware of energies, because they are subtle.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to ask for them, you miss them, and you try to figure things out with your head. I was gonna say something else that was smart, but it's gone. Yeah. I guess just looking at, I mean, we would just wrap this up for today, but like, really aware that, really grateful for you guys, and really aware that, how much will require the use of the tools, and also each other. And calling friends.
And being vulnerable with each other, like really, allowing each of us to be, like we had a conversation last night too, where it was like, I'm really sorry for the, crazy ass weekend I put you guys through, where I was dealing with all this shit, and they're like, I didn't know.
Sorry, you were judging yourself. It's okay.
Torsten just allowed me to judge myself for 3 days.
Karlina didn't allow Torsten to judge himself.
That's true. I cut him off this morning.
Yeah, but I mean, as we move forward, we all know that this journey is like not normal, and the choices that we're choosing, and the changes that we're asking for, and the realities that we're asking for, the energy of them is similar, and it's going to show up really different. And it's
going to be continuous, huge change, and it's going to continue to be turbulent waters.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that sort of title of that thing, like turbulent waters, it's basically like just being in the space of being uncomfortable, right?
All the time.
Yeah.
And you just have to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what it is. And that's what the beauty of the tools is. Like, you are in this constant space of being uncomfortable, and then you're like, okay, so, and I can ask questions here and look at this and whatever, and become aware of things that I wasn't aware of before, and I can choose different. And so that's really the essence of it for me anyways. It's like being okay with being uncomfortable. And I think that's the other thing in this world, at least when I grew up, it's like I was trying to do something for people so they wouldn't be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and here we're actually choosing
right?
something
You're like,
uncomfortable.
okay, so what can I do to make their life like comfortable? Right? And it's just like, no, actually it's okay to be that. And again, like, we do talk to each other and so on, and like, if someone wants to be in that space and we're like, really do it, that's cool. And also, if they are ready to like want some questions asked or whatever,
we're here.
Yeah. But even, there's such a gift, and, like, we didn't grow up similarly, but we do have the same thing where it's like that rejection is the first thing you do before anybody else can reject you. And the vulnerability isn't there, because then you get hurt or beat up or whatever. Like, that's just, you don't go there. So being willing to actually be you and be vulnerable in a space with other people, it's very different, and it's extremely uncomfortable. And I'm so grateful that I have 3 amazing other people who I get to be that with, and who I get to be in that space with.
Me too.
And the image I'd like to close this episode for myself until next time is, this has all the makings of like a 4-man bobsled, and we're on the sides, and we've been like getting the rhythm together, and now we're running, and we all have to run together. There's no one person who's gonna like, I'm good, I'm gonna get off right now. We're running, and we're jumping in the sled, and there are gonna be twists and turns and maybe spills, and it's uncomfortable, and it's also exhilarating, and I can't wait till what I see in the next turn. So thank you to all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers to the bobsled team.
Yeah.
I think Tuesday we're doing another one.
So if you're watching this live, we're going to be doing this again on Tuesday. We're going to do it every week. And thank you guys so much for being
Maybe not every day.
Maybe not every day, same day, but just
next week it'll be Tuesday, September 19th at 9:30.
And we may create a sign up just so you know, if you want live updates to know when we're going to be on live. We might create that. I don't know. Stay.
She's making this up as we go.
I know. I just say that.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.